So here at Truett-McConnell College, we take our degree programs real serious, especially for us being a Baptist college and being a Christian school. The Great Commission minor is a part of what each student gets when they graduate. And so as a basketball coach, women's basketball coach, I take that real seriously. I've taken it seriously since I got the job here. And so it's real important for me for the girls to feel like that I am aiding in helping them accomplish that task of the Great Commission minor. And that Great Commission is to go into all the world and share the gospel. And so we got together, my assistant coach and my wife and myself, and we decided that we were going to take the girls on a mission trip. And we got the team together and got on a plane and went to Costa Rica. My name is Matt Sanders. I'm the head women's basketball coach here at Truett-McConnell College. So we had the girls come in a couple of days before we left, and we did that to practice and to get some shots up, just to try to get ourselves basketball ready. But more importantly, we came in to get ourselves spiritually ready, do some devotions every single day. And so the first day, we got the girls together, and that morning, in my devotion time, a devotion actually, someone had emailed me, Ephesians 3:20 showed up, the scripture for that day. And Ephesians 3:20 says, "Now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works within us." And it's interesting because that power, most of the time you can't see it, and most of the time you have a hard time feeling it, but for us it was amazing. That was the first day that the scripture showed up, and I actually shared it with the girls that morning. And then the next morning, before we had our next practice and our next devotion, one of the girls texted me. She's like, "Coach, you're not gonna believe this. In my devotion today, Ephesians 3:20 showed up." And I remember getting goosebumps. You get there, something like that happens, especially when God's working. You're like, "Oh, this is awesome. God's gonna do something really cool." Well, He did way more than that, and it's so is indicative of that scripture, because that scripture showed up every single day, really for the next 10 days, I guess you could say. 2 days after we returned, which turned into 10 days. And the third day I got 2 text messages, "Coach, you're not gonna believe this. Ephesians 3:20 showed up," and then the following day, and then the following day, and then we get to Costa Rica, and then it shows up more and more. And just being real with you, it was so powerful, and it continued to be powerful. And He did more than we could ask for, exceedingly abundantly more than we can ask for, just using the scripture. So like I said before, we got the team together and got on a plane, and had a number of girls that had never been on a plane before. Actually, some of them had never been out of the state of Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, wherever they're from, and got on a plane and went to Costa Rica. We landed in San Jose. San Jose is the capital city. It's interesting because when you land on the ground there, you land in the middle of the mountains. It's quite interesting when you come down, because you come out of the clouds and all of a sudden there's this beautiful setting of mountains, and just a wonderful place visually to see, except for once you get there. And we stayed in a nice area that is sponsored by Score International. That's the company that we went through to go on the trip. And then from there we kind of branched out and went to smaller cities, and that's kind of where the whole missions idea comes in. We went to the smaller cities to really share the gospel. Once we got to San Jose and landed and got ourselves settled, every day, mostly we end up on a bus, all 16, I think it ended up 16 or 17 of us, and you have to go out of the city to get into the towns, and it's such a beautiful area, so mountainous, but it's really funny because I still feel like the place is nothing but streets. But once you get out of the city and all the streets, you go up into the mountains, and it's kind of hilly and mud and rain, and you kind of name it as far as the bus ride goes. And then once you get into those cities, you kind of find out quickly how much they don't have. It's pretty impoverished in certain areas. Other areas are better, just like anywhere else, but pretty impoverished. And so that's the idea, is to go and share the gospel with the people who don't have a whole lot and may never hear it, and they may never hear it again. And that's kind of the job that we kind of felt like we wanted to do. So we go into all these smaller cities and kind of find out how impoverished they are, and we had some things set up by the group that we were with, and one of them was an orphanage, and then the other one was a women's ministry, and just those kind of things are so impactful when you get a chance to change people's lives while you're there and share the gospel, and also you get your life changed while you're there. And so the one that really sticks out in my mind that really kind of shook us all to the core is one day we left, I think it was pretty early, about 8:30, and stopped off at a local market, and each of the girls gave $20 per person, and so there was 16 of us. So we went in this store and bought enough food to feed 20 different women for a week. And so we went to this single mothers ministry in the most impoverished and crime-ridden town in all of Costa Rica. It was a pretty neat experience, and a little bit scary at times. And so we go into this ministry, and so many things happen when you go to share the gospel, and you really can tell, especially as I said before, with Ephesians 3:20 being a part of what we were doing and just giving us more power and covering us while we were there. And we get in this building, and these ladies show up, and they are learning how to sew and all this kind of stuff. Well, I really said all that to say, we get in there, we give these ladies this food, and they're so thankful, and we get on the bus to leave, and most of us are in tears because we're leaving these women and they're learning, but God has done some miracles. And we get 20 minutes down the road, and our leader gets a phone call, and one of the ladies called after she left, and she said, I had no food to feed my family tonight, and you gave me food to feed my family for a week or more. Each day we did a basketball clinic and a game, and it was tough. I still don't know how we all did it. We were all wore out every single day. Get up really early, 7:30, sometimes 6:30, and go eat breakfast, and then get on a bus and go somewhere and do a ministry, and then do a clinic, and then play a game. And we played 5 games while we were there. And in the clinics, we'd go to elementary school or a middle school, and the girls would share their skill and teach kids and play with the kids. We just had a blast doing that. And even in those times, some of those schools, we got to share our testimony. One of the girls would do that, and that was outstanding. And then at night, sometimes 7 o'clock, sometimes 8 o'clock, sometimes 9 o'clock, we'd play a game. We won 4 out of the 5 that we played, which was outstanding. We only lost to the Costa Rica national team, which that was exciting for us, especially after a long day. Go win a game. And so after each game, we're all tired, but really get together, and one of the girls would get up front of the team, and we'd have a translator, and she would share her testimony, and every single night was something powerful would happen. So when you take a mission trip, the whole idea is to go and share the gospel. And lots of times when you do that as a person, you get a chance to share the gospel with a number of people, and you really get to see some lives change, and then prayerfully you hope their lives will continue to be changed, and you see people raise their hand and commit their life to Christ, and it's awesome. But most of the time your life gets changed. And for us on this trip, including my wife and my assistant coach and Dr. Van Sanders, who works here at Truett-McConnell, was so powerful. What happened with these young ladies. And each night after our games were over, we would come back and sit down and have what we would normally call a devotion time turned into a testimony time. And we asked each of the girls to share their testimony, and we heard things that none of us could ever imagine. And when you hear someone else's testimony that or that you think your life tends to get changed. And what happened to us is we became vulnerable with one another. Got to a point where we were willing to share things that had happened to us so that we could really share the gospel with each other. And so that transcending into our up and coming season and our lives here as teammates and as a team, we want that to take off. And normally when you come home from a mission trip, you come off that high a little bit, and it is a task to continue to chase after God and have that power be in your life. And our goal as a team and mostly as a coaching staff since I've been here is we want to be that shining light on the hill. We want to share the gospel as a team with who we are, and we want to do that day in and day out. And honestly, we're going to chase after that every single day that we're here.